Hello, and thanks for joining me for another church visit. And it's a strange little church I have for you this time. This tiny edifice is St Brynach at Pontfaen. This was a very simple little medieval church in ruins in 1861, after which it was put back into use. The man employed to do the work was J.C. Davis of Kenarth, who had just brought back Llanfihangel Penbedu from ruin and did a cheap and nasty job. Card in the corner for that one if you haven't seen it. I wish I could say he'd done better here, but I can't really. The church had a chancel, nave, and small north transept, originally used as a chapel, with a skew passage and south door. A font, a sash window in the east, and late medieval windows in the transept and nave, much messed about with. There were remarkably 3 stone altar tables in the church, and a collar rafter roof, admittedly in a poor way. J.C. Davis altered the chancel arch, filled in the floor, put in new windows, with stone paid for by Mrs. Gower from Pontfaen next door, the big house, and chucked out all the medieval stuff, except the font. Then came Mr. Percy Arden. He moved into the big house next door. Actually, it was his holiday cottage, and if you think that's a grand holiday cottage, well, not for him. Percy Arden had inherited it in 1894, and also Sunbury Park in Middlesex, which he rented out, and he lived in a big house in Brighton and a set of rooms in the Albany in London. He was clearly not taken by the plain and tatty church next door, hardly the sort of place one could take one's house guests to on a Sunday morning, or indeed not suitable for his own worship, so he paid to have it made over. The result speaks very much about Percy Arden, and it must have been a bit of a jolt for the parishioners when it reopened in 1904. Let me show you inside. You'll see what I mean. There are no pews. The chairs are modern, and look, Stations of the Cross. Percy Arden was obviously Anglo-Catholic. There are memorials to his family in brass and glass. The War Memorial is the only village-related and non-Arden thing in the nave, and it postdates him. The medieval skew passage contains a cabinet of vestments with their own dehumidifier buzzing away to protect them. J.C. Davis had thrown the medieval remnants of Pontfaen Church out, and Percy Arden tidied it up even further, and turned it into a miniature personal oratory. He could have employed a good London ecclesiastical architect who might have been able to give it a more medieval feel, but he chose Morgan and Sons of Carmarthen, chapel architects and general builders. They re-roofed it, dug out the floor, doubly so under the pulpit, and added a vestry. Mr. Arden then filled this scant space with high church clutter, and memorials and windows in memory of his sister, whose son became a Catholic monk, his brothers, another sister, his mother, and the east window for his father, from whom he inherited his wealth. Percy Arden never married. When he died in 1909, his family placed this brass plaque here, remembering him as a benefactor of the church. The vicar of Pontfaen during Percy Arden's time was the Reverend David Jenkin Evans. I'm not sure what he made of all the Anglo-Catholic stuff, but he was incumbent here for 34 years. His daughter, Lois Myfanwy Evans, born the year he became vicar here, married a Swansea engineer, Walter Horsfall Schenk, and the wedding took place here in 1916. 5 years later, in 1921, she died, and Reverend Evans applied for a faculty to have this put in the chancel. The ashes of Lois Myfanwy Schenk are here. Also those of her father and mother, who had lived in Bristol after they left here, and when they died, their ashes were placed here too. The wainscoting dates from the same time, 1922. Apart from the new chairs and the carpet, this church is pretty much as it was in the time of Percy Arden and David Jenkin Evans. It seems to be all about them, oddly dislocated from its community, despite being very well kept and welcoming to visitors. If you want to visit Pontfaen Church, it's open daily. I hope you enjoyed this tour, and as always, thank you for watching.